My name is Lena. I am 27 years old, and I want to tell you the truth about a choice I made. Not from love, but from fear and from a hunger I carried for most of my life. I grew up poor, not the kind of poor people romanticize in stories. The real kind: thin walls, a leaking roof, rain that found its way inside no matter what we did. I learned very young that money was not just paper. Money was silence. Money was a door that closed properly. Money was sleep without worry. I told myself this so many times that it became the only voice I trusted. My days were ordinary and exhausting. I woke before the sun, washed my face with cold water, and drank cheap coffee that tasted like nothing. Then I walked to my job at a small travel office, sat at a desk, answered phones, and smiled at strangers with my mouth, never my eyes. At lunch I counted coins. In the evenings I walked home through loud streets, holding my bag tight, watching wealthy people step into clean cars. Every time a car door closed, something heavy pressed against my chest. Then Victor walked into the office one hot afternoon. He moved slowly. He wore a light suit. His hair was white, his hands trembled slightly when he held papers, and he smiled at me as if time meant nothing to him. He asked about quiet places, trips near the sea. I spoke carefully so he could follow, and he listened, not like someone waiting for their turn to talk, but like someone who genuinely wanted to hear. When he left, he thanked me twice. He came back the following week. And the week after that, eventually, he invited me for coffee. I told myself it was nothing, just coffee. The cafe was calm, the cups were clean. He paid without glancing at the price, and I noticed. I always noticed. Victor talked about his life work he no longer did, a large house full of empty rooms, meals eaten in silence. But I listened. I nodded. Sitting across from him, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Safe. Not the excitement of fire, but the steadiness of a blanket. People stared at us sometimes. A young woman and an old man. I saw their eyes and I held my cup a little tighter. I told myself I was strong. He began giving me gifts, a scarf, a book, then a phone, a ring with a clear stone. My small room slowly changed. Better light, better food. The street noise outside felt distant. And for the first time in years, I slept through the night. When Victor asked me to marry him, I did not say yes immediately. I went home, sat on the edge of my bed, and held the ring in my hands. I thought about my mother's tired hands. I thought about rain on the floor. I thought about all the nights I lay awake counting what I did not have. Then I thought about the quiet I had always wanted. The next day, I said yes. The wedding was small. His family watched me like I was a question they weren't sure they wanted answered. I smiled and stood close to Victor. When he said my name, his voice trembled. Something moved inside me in that moment. Not love, not exactly. Something closer to relief. Maybe power. I wasn't sure which. Life inside that big house was strange and easy at the same time. My footsteps echoed in the hallways. I learned which floors creaked. I learned the times for his medicine. I learned his silences. We traveled by plane, by car, through hotels with white sheets and calm seas. People called me Mrs. Victor. I wore nice clothes and smiled for photographs. But on the inside, I stayed careful. I kept count. Old habits do not disappear just because the room is warmer. Victor was a gentle man. He never raised his voice. He never demanded more than I could give. Sometimes he held my hand and closed his eyes, and sometimes he said my name so softly it sounded like a prayer. Those moments unsettled me. They were too tender for what I had built. Then one night, he became very ill. I sat beside his bed and listened to his breathing, slow, unsteady, broken. The room smelled of medicine. He looked at me with clear eyes and said, "I know why you came." My heart stopped. I waited for anger, for accusation. Neither came. Instead, he said quietly, "I am glad you stayed." His hand reached for mine. I held it. It was light as paper. I felt heavy as stone. Something opened in me in that moment. I saw myself as if from a distance, a young woman holding an old man's hand. A woman who had wanted peace so desperately that she had stopped listening to her own heart. The shame I felt was not sharp. It was slow and deep, like water filling a room. Victor recovered. Life returned to what it had been, but I did not return. I watched him differently now. I noticed how his face changed when I laughed, how he always waited for me to sit before he ate, how completely he trusted me, knowing everything. The house that had once felt too big began to feel full. One evening I stood by the window and watched the rain fall soft and quiet outside. I had everything I had ever wanted: warmth, safety, a future without fear. And still, somewhere beneath all of it, my chest felt hollow. I understood the truth then, and I did not run from it. I did not love Victor. I loved what he had given me: the calm, the escape, the end of being afraid. That knowing did not destroy me. It settled into me, like dust settling after a long storm. I made a choice that evening. I chose to stay. Not from love, and not from pretending. From honesty. I stopped performing emotions I did not feel and started offering what I truly could: presence, attention, care. I listened when he spoke. I covered him when he slept. I did not promise forever. I gave him now, and it was enough for him, and slowly it became enough for me too. Time moved gently through that house. Victor aged, and I walked beside him. Some mornings I sat with my coffee and looked at my own hands for a long time, thinking about the girl who used to count coins, who used to hold her bag tight on loud streets, who used to watch car doors close and feel something break inside her. I do not regret the road I chose, but I understand it now in a way I did not before. Some loves burn bright and fast. Some loves are quiet and slow. And some choices are like shoes that never quite fit, and yet they carry you farther than you ever expected. I learned to walk in mine, slowly, honestly, and without shame.